But if my heart is to build a name for myself,
Yeah.
to build a reputation, to be known.
Mm-hmm.
John Bevere and his son Arden recently sat down and had a discussion about the concerns with Christian influencers growing their platforms in a sinful way. Now, in today's video, we're going to dive deep into this discussion where Arden is concerned about the Christian influencers that are seeming to rise ever more nowadays with this authority that he has questions about. And then his dad, John Bevere, is going to press him on this and ask him a deeper question. As well as towards the end of this video, we're going to dive into John Bevere kind of explaining a personal side of this that hits close to home. Now, with that said, let's dive into this first clip where we see Arden pressing on the concern with Christian influencers in today's age.
You see a lot of people that are getting into ministry with, they might have a right heart behind it, but they're not called for that area. And they're gaining influence and they're speaking on areas and topics that they shouldn't be doing. And it's out of this place of authority, which I love that Peter is showing, yes, I have authority, but I'm also a servant, a slave to the utmost high. And he's keeping this humility about him, of that understanding.
So we see here Arden having a justified worry and concern about what he's personally seeing in today's age with like Christian TikTokers, etc., who are using their platform and speaking on things that they just don't have an authority to maybe speak on, that authority hasn't been given to them. It seems nowadays that being a Christian influencer is somewhat hip and it's in now. But we have to understand that this is not something that we should just take lightly. And Arden's concern is, where is their heart posture with all of this? Is it to gain followers and numbers, or is it to actually share Christ's truth? Now, John, in a second here, is going to press Arden on this and kind of peel back another layer.
You're saying is people are getting a platform that they really don't have the character to handle yet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I would say that they just need to do it with the right heart.
Yeah.
And positions God will give, because promotions come from God.
Mm-hmm.
But if my heart is to serve people, to serve Jesus first and serve people,
Mm-hmm.
if my platform on social media gets to 80,000, that's great.
That's amazing.
But if my heart is to build a name for myself,
Yeah.
to build a reputation, to be known.
Mm-hmm.
See, these are all things that are birthed out of insecurities
Yeah.
or desires. So the more important thing is, because God can promote somebody to a pastor of a church,
Yeah.
and yet they still carry a desire to be known.
So as we can see here, John Bevere is kind of pushing back on his son and saying, listen, these influencers that are rising up and getting followers, thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, etc. Hey, listen, that's okay so long as their heart is in the right place. God will give as he pleases, but their heart needs to be in the right place, because we can very much so get into a space where our heart posture becomes very sinful. It becomes about looking at the numbers. It becomes wanting to be popular. It becomes wanting to grow this following in a way that is not for the Lord. And Bevere is actually going to explain in this next clip where he actually witnessed this firsthand.
I mean, my pastor who fell, my very first church, he fell, Arden. And yet he had the largest television ministry in the world for a 2-year period. But do you know what his number one passion was?
What?
He wanted the biggest television ministry in the world.
Really?
Okay. Now, is that because he wanted to really serve people, or is it because he was in a meeting?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows who this is. He was in a meeting one time and he preached a phenomenal message. And the who's who of the time of leadership in the body of Christ was in this big meeting. was a big, big, big conference. And he went back to the green room after preaching this absolutely brilliant message, and nobody said a word to him. So all these major leaders were in the green room, and nobody said one word. They didn't come up and say, wow, I really got touched tonight. Everybody just kind of stayed away from him. And he looked at my close friend, who was his right-hand man, and he said, get me out of here right now. He got in the car, and he said, I'm going to be bigger than every one of them.
So we see Bevere sharing this personal story where a pastor that he was very close with, that he knew very well, fell into this temptation of being bigger than any other pastor out there, being known in a way that does not honor the Lord. And we do see this time and time and time again. Pastors getting these platforms, rising to a level of fame, Christian fame, and then falling. Guys, our heart posture, as Bevere is saying here, is key. Now, I don't personally agree with everything that John Bevere says or anything like that, but I will say John Bevere does a very good job of explaining this and making a very good point. Our heart posture needs to be in the right place. I mean, we see in James chapter 3, verse 1, where it gives a strict warning to teachers. It says, my brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment. Guys, I am going to receive a stricter judgment. The TikTok Christian people, the other Instagram creators, the other YouTube creators who are using their platform to preach Christ and Him crucified are going to receive a stricter judgment. This is not something to take lightly, and our desire should never be to grow the number of followers. Our desire should just be to simply preach Christ and Him crucified and give all of the glory to the Lord, no matter if one person listens or 100,000 people listen. Just focus on the treasure, and that is the free gift of salvation that Christ offers to all. Don't get tangled up. Have accountability around you, because this is something that many can fall into. Real quick, guys, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the BTteam Ministry YouTube channel, as well as drop a like and a comment down below. I would love to hear from you and have some conversations about this. And if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy this one over here.